welcome to Manic Movies, a series where we talk about the madness of movies. I'm Ryanimaniac, and welcome back to Road to the Endgame. We're going to be taking a look at all the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe leading up to the events of Avengers Endgame. And this week we're going to be taking a look at Captain America, the first Avenger, the final film leading up to the first Avengers movie. So the story of this film starts out with, scrawny, weak Steve Rogers, these tiny little scrappy dude who wants to join the army, but they constantly keep turning him away because, he's small and weak and timid and has all these health problems, but it doesn't put a damper on him wanting to fight in the war and help. But all that changes when one day a scientist comes to him with a proposition saying, I can make you a soldier if you'll let us volunteer to use this super soldier serum on you that will make you a better fighter. So they use a super soldier serum on him, he gets all big and swole, and from that point on he becomes Captain America, the big super soldier, bigger and better than anything going on in the US Army. But all the while, during all that, there's an enemy known as Hydra, led by the Red Skull, played by Hugo Weaving, who are taking this cube, the Tesseract, and are trying to harness its power to use in weapons, which they believe will give them world domination. And so Captain America's goal is to try to, of course, stop Red Skull, to save America. Yeah, and like Incredible Hulk and Thor, again, this does feel like a film that is not extremely interesting, you know what I mean? It feels like, again, it is just setting up this character for Avengers, especially with the ending of the film of Cap seeking the plane jet thing into the icebergs, or into the ice, so that it won't blow anybody up, even though countless mediums and people have objected, saying, well, what if he just done this or done that instead of just sinking it into the ocean, which, let's face it, the only reason he did that is just so he could be in Avengers. That's the only reason he was. That was a bit of poor writing on their part. The rest of the film is pretty decent, though. But like I said, it is once again, a setup for Avengers more than it is trying to be its own interesting story, which is, again, kind of upsetting. Chris Evans does give a pretty good performance as Steve Rogers. It is interesting to see him go from Fantastic Four to this, to see how his superhero career has drastically changed since then. Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter is pretty good. She was, I'll say she was really good. Like, good enough that she got her own show for a while before it sort of got canceled. Sebastian Stan as James Buchanan Barnes, aka Bucky, prior to him being the Winter Soldier, pretty good. Tommy Lee Jones is pretty fun, I guess. Hugo Weaving as Red Skull is cool and has a good design to him, I think, but similar to Whiplash from Iron Man 2, I felt like they didn't put enough focus on him to be as interesting of a villain as he could have been. Which is probably, again, one of the reasons why Hugo Weaving is one of the actors that just didn't care for his time on the Marvel films, due to the studio and him having different ideas of what to do with the character. But like I said, he does look cool, and he's portrayed really cool, and it's just, I felt like if the film had focused more on him than it did, then it focused more on setting up Captain America, then he would have been a lot more intimidating of a villain, and would have been up there in the ranks of the good Marvel villains. Action's pretty good, World War II, fighting sort of thing, these cool environments. It does kind of stink that, it spends a whole good chunk of this film set building up Captain America, and then when he's actually Captain America, you only get to see, a small little montage of him actually fighting in the war. That kind of stinks, because as the way it looks like we're never going to see him back in the World War II era again, so yeah, kind of a waste to have him only have those small little scenes. But, at least we did get to see more of him in the following films. Yeah, the CG does look a little off sometimes, like through the beginning part where he's the smaller Captain America and they just put Chris Evans' head on a smaller body. It works most of the time, but there's one or two of those moments where it just doesn't look quite right. And then there's just multiple other moments, mostly during action scenes, where you can just see it doesn't look quite good, but I don't know, it could have been worse. It could have been Abomination levels of bad. But like I said, action's fun, cool setting and all, and just fun, interesting characters like the Howling Commandos, and Peggy, and Cap, obviously, and Howard Stark. That he was pretty cool to see where Tony's mannerisms come from. And it also is interesting to see that Cap got to work with both Howard the father and Tony the son. Two generations of Starks. Stan Lee's cameo in this was as a general, I believe. I could be wrong on the ranking. During a award ceremony for Captain America, in which a senator introduces Captain America, but this other guy comes out to tell him, hey, Cap can't make it, he's, busy being a superhero, and it cuts to Stan sitting in the audience saying, I thought he'd be taller. Yeah, I also don't think I could talk about this film without bringing up, again, the post-credit scene and the final setup for Avengers, in which Cap wakes up after being in the ice and is introduced to the big world, and then after the credits, pretty much being a trailer for the Avengers. And this was the big moment where everybody said, okay, this is actually happening. This is super cool, this is actually happening. I mean, I suppose you could say that happened in Thor as well, but I don't know. I guess this was the one I feel like was the definitive, okay, yeah, this is actually happening. They're not just teasing this anymore, this is actually gonna happen. So yeah, this was a pretty good film, I thought. I highly recommend it more than some of the other films of the MCU. But, except from Phase 1 at least. It's one of the better ones of Phase 1. But again, like Incredible Hulk, like all the other films at this point, they never really quite got to the high level Iron Man 1 setup. At least not until the next film. Which, I'd say that one kind of dominated. So yeah, good film. I highly recommend it. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, feel free to hit that like button. You can feel free to subscribe to see more of these movie reviews or gaming or streaming or whatever else I'm doing at this time. I don't know. Or you can leave a comment and give me a suggestion of a movie to look at. Because you guys might have a movie that I want to look at and talk about, and I might have something to say about it. I'm not sure. Just leave it down below and we'll see where it goes. But anyways, with all that being said, stay sane in the insane world, and I'll see all you little loonies later.